either this form or offline because yeah, that
Good morning, Jay.
I can see one of the value members is having.
Jay, your mic is unmuted.
I know.
Or is
I
muted.
want to say hi.
Okay, hi. Cool. All right. Good morning, everyone. Give everyone a few more minutes to join. Good morning, those who are joining us. I'm just going to give it till probably a 3 or 4 after, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Excited to see some new names here this week. Good morning, David.
Hello.
Hello.
Do we have meeting notes?
We don't have an official doc. I've mainly been taking notes off to the side and then posting them in Slack, but I'm happy to do it a different way too.
Yeah. Don't do it in Slack.
Okay.
Slack goes away. Slack is great for hi. Are we meeting right now?
Gotcha.
But if you want to record anything, it's exactly the worst thing because it'll disappear in a few weeks.
Right. Is there an OpenSSF Google Drive or something that I could use for?
There is, although I'm in a rush. So how's this? It looks like there is actually a little notes thing that's already set up.
Oh, I totally missed that.
So let's. I don't know the full story behind it, but we can start from there and see.
Okay, cool. Is it attached to the meeting invite?
It is. So tell you what, why don't I do this? I don't know the full story.
Okay.
We can fix it later, but let's use that.
That works for me.
And I'm going to have to share it. Let's see. Okay, you know what? For the moment, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with everybody to the link to at least comment. All right. And I'll tell you, here's what we usually do. You don't have, it's not like anybody takes away your birthday. But we usually take notes in Google Docs, and then everybody else can chime in and, fix notes as we go.
Cool.
Less work for everybody. And what we usually do is write down the attendees.
Right.
And then we usually have a preset agenda, and then walk through, and people make notes and changes.
Cool. I'll paste the agenda in.
All right.
If I can.
Let's see here. So, and usually at the top there's memory, memory, safety, SIG. All right, and I will do some formatty things later. There's usually we have like the legal and code of conduct stuff up here. So if everybody could just kind of do what you're doing, which is slip in your name. And the reason we take attendance is not because we're going to take your birthdays away, but we want to make sure over time that we have multiple different organizations involved. So if you could put your organization, and as well as have an idea who's showing. I'll do the formatty stuff. You go lead.
Can do. Thank you, David. All right, everyone. Well, you've got a link in the chat there, so please go ahead, and looks like everyone's doing it. Put in your name and your org, and pronouns if you'd like. I'll go ahead and put mine in. Let me just mute so you don't hear my mechanical keyboard.
Okay, I am immediately adding some permissions for folks I happen to have offhand.
Awesome.
Who I can see are on here. we will fix up other things as we go.
Cool.
But I'm more interested in making sure you can just get
Awesome.
started.
All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started, and let's start with some introductions because I know we've got some new people, which is fantastic to see. So briefly, Nell Shamrell Harrington, pronouns are she, they. I work at Microsoft as a principal engineer, and I am leading this SIG on I'm also on the Rust Foundation Board of Directors, leading this SIG on memory safety. And let's go ahead and go to Daniel next.
Hi, I'm Daniel Frampton. I work at Microsoft. I lead the Rust team in the developer division. And so I'm really interested in all things to do with memory safety from that perspective.
Awesome. Next, let's go to Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh Ose. I'm the ED over at Internet Security Research Group, running the Prosimo project where we're doing a bunch of Rust stuff.
Fantastic. Art, hello.
Hi, everyone. Art Mannion. I work currently at a small government contractor called Analogence. My contract is with CISA, but I'm here with individual hat on, I will say, to some extent. So I can't, of course, represent CISA. I did spend 20 years at the CERT Coordination Center worrying about software security bugs. And I just can't let some of this stuff go. So that's why I'm here. Thanks.
Glad to have you here. Jay, are you able to introduce yourself? I know you're in 2 meetings at once.
Oh yeah, that one just ended.
Okay, cool.
I'm Jay White, from Microsoft. Do a lot of work here in the OpenSSF as well. I'm here because I want to learn. I'm not a dev, although I in the previous life I had breaking devs hard work tendencies. Definitely.
And we thank you for that.
I'm definitely here to learn about memory safe languages and plus up them skills to take forward our initiatives across the OpenSSF.
All right, let's go to Victor next.
Yeah, I'm Victor Do. I'm an independent. I'm just curious about the difference between memory safety versus confidential computing. So just here trying to understand that.
Cool. I mean, there are some differences. There is also a tiny bit of overlap. Cool. Randall, over to you.
Hi, I'm Randall. I lead the SKF project, and I'm also now going to be writing several Rust courses for LF for certification and whatnot.
Awesome. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help with that.
No, I will.
Yeah. Over to Walter.
Hey everyone, I'm Walter. I'm the new security engineer hired into the Rust Foundation. So, my purview is kind of everything security that involves Rust. So I am here because all of you talked about writing Rust stuff. And since that's my job, that's why I'm here.
Cool. And over to David.
All right. I am David A. Wheeler. I'm also trying to type and talk at the same time. Linux Foundation, my title tells me I'm the director of open source supply chain security. So basically, I've been somebody who's been interested in developing secure software for literally decades. I don't think it's a big secret that the majority of vulnerabilities, when you total them all up, are memory safety problems. So we would like to eliminate those. So let's find ways to do that. I will quickly note that I like Rust. I write code in Rust, but my broader interest, frankly, just eliminating security vulnerabilities. If it's another language, that's great. But the goal is to improve security in my mind, and then everything else is the secondary.
Right. In fact, I was going to mention real quickly, obviously, a lot of us here have a Rust background, Rust interest, but this is not just a Rust group. There's a focus on memory safety in general that includes memory safe languages, not just Rust, but others out there as well. And also something I've had people from within Microsoft in other places express to me is, there's billions of lines of existing, C, C++ code. It's not possible to rewrite every part of it in a memory safe language. So how do we make it better, and how do we define what areas do need to be potentially be rewritten or be or have different tools applied to them. So yeah, memory safety is a huge issue, and one that I think needs to be tackled in a variety of ways. All right. Well, so a little bit of recap. So we are still a very early SIG within the OpenSSF. I don't even know if we can consider ourselves official yet, but how we become official is we find a working group to nest ourselves under and present our goals to them. And if they take us under their wing, then we are I had to do the wing. Then we are a full sorry, then we are a official SIG. So one of the things we do need to do before we approach a oh, hi Abhishek, before we approach a working group, we've discussed the developers' best practices as possibly being a very, very good fit, is we need to define our goals as a SIG. And there were two that were proposed when the SIG was initially forming. One is updating the language in the open source security mobilization plan stream 4 to reflect a broader context and have more broad inputs in it. And then the second was to, based on that updated language, recommend specific project specific initiatives for funding from the OpenSSF or OpenSSF members. Now, my question to the group is, does that still sound good, at least as a place to start, or are there are there other things we should consider as a SIG putting within our scope?
Yeah, when you say tasks to start, those could be programs, those could be documents, right? Is that okay?
I guess. Oh, go ahead, David.
I was just say, I think start by crisply defining your goals is sounds like a very good place to start. I can try to drag the text from the mobilization plan, although if somebody else has that quickly at hand, please just go. But I think step one is, making sure we agree on what we're doing and
right
in a way that others can clarify that. Quick procedural note.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it for everybody, but for several of you, I've turned you into editors. A weird quirk of Google Docs is that you have to click on reload to get your new amazing privileges. So my apologies, I haven't been able to do it for everybody, but if you could reload, for at least some of you, you will get the privileges that you should have. But we're starting with the airplane in flight.
Understood. All right. Well, I guess then what I'll propose is we do define as a goal updating the language within the mobilization plan first. That language was Josh and I and some others were involved in that very early. That was put together very, very fast. With limited input, and I believe there's places we can take it. Number one, making it more crisply defined, and also having the broader input on it, and then turning those into specific initiatives to fund. So I guess I want to propose to the group, does that sound like a good first goal, updating the language within the mobilization plan?
I think as a longer term goal, that's great. I would suggest though that we try briefly to see if we can't come up with a at least a first cut now, because if you're going to present to a working group, they're going to want to know what's your goal. I think you should be able to make something, even if it's drafty, now and then improve it later. Or do you think that's too
drafting as in redrafting the language?
No, well, I'm thinking of one sentence. What is the purpose of this group?
Okay.
Yeah, in line
ahead,
with what David is saying, kind of lay out what should be going into that README on on the GitHub site, if you get ahead of that, then when you become an official SIG, you already have that established. So charter and everything else can be established after that. But purpose and scope and everything like that is very important to get out in front of in the beginning.
Okay, so, and I think that makes sense. What I believe I'm hearing is we should define our purpose and our scope first before defining specific goals.
Yes.
Right.
Got it. All right.
Oh, okay. And somebody has, here's the causes.
All right. So let's start with all right, so let's discuss what our purpose as a SIG is, which I believe it's to starting big, to improve memory safety within open source code.
Okay.
Does that sound good as a starter, big goal? And we're going to narrow that down to find out. Art, go right ahead.
I'm trying to capture what you just said. I don't know if I did. Do you, can you see?
To transition to memory safe programming. Let's see here. I don't think it's quite that yet. Purpose of the memory safety SIG. I don't know if it's, I think that's all encased in there. I'm trying to figure out how to crisply define this, which I believe is, to improve memory safety within open source code. I think that's the big general one. Art, go right ahead. You have your hand. Oh, you did have your hand up. Yeah.
I did. Sorry, I have a bit of a momentarily loud home office.
Oh, no worries.
So I've been sort of following, maybe not this exact thread, but the Consumer Reports and post White House,
right,
guidance a bit. There's an element here, and I don't know if it needs to go in, the single sentence mission statement or else, but I also want to slow things down, but kind of reviewing the problems, I think, is a important step. The dumb version of this is, well, we're not going to rewrite certain things right off the bat, but so something like understanding and then proposing ways to improve memory safety for open source. I feel with some of the current push, there's been a bit of a, those who are not well experienced and subtly well informed are reading here. Jen Easterly said this. I was there in person on Monday. She said 2/3 of software vulnerabilities are caused by memory safety issues. Mm-hmm. She left out the words in C and C++ programs from that sentence. And message is clear, great speech, great message overall. And the Consumer Reports, if you read the whole paper, right, the Consumer Reports paper is it covers all the angles very nicely. But like the first, 2 sentences are this 2/3 number. So I'm a little cautious of that. I don't want to gatekeep, don't want to slow things down. I think investigating memory safety in open source and in fact in all software is an important security thing to consider. But I want to be cautious that we understand where things currently are. Here, and here are places to push on memory safety. These places are, maybe today not a good place to push. There's something there I'd like to try to fit in, understanding the problem space well. That's my high level comment. I'm not sure how to put it into words very easily. So thank you. Yep.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I was chatting with the authors of the Consumer Reports thing recently, and what part of what I've experienced within Microsoft and other areas, and this is not confidential information, is I have people who've been writing C++ for decades come to me and say, well, everyone is saying that we should throw away all C++ code and rewrite everything in Rust. And my response is, who's saying that? Everyone. Okay, tell me how many. Anyway, so we go through that. So that is where my caution is I don't think anyone who's credible is saying that specifically. But we do need to move toward more memory safe languages, and we do need to move toward more memory safe programming practices. And I do think you're correct in that understanding the problem space is key to that.
Yeah, thank you. And I suspect the folks here do understand the problem space. That was not directed at folks, folks here. A lot of people do, just, it comes out at the high level for some policymakers as rewrite everything. Yeah, as you said. So that's it. Thank you. Yep.
Sure.
Covered.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was going to say, now that said, I think that you can do work to eliminate roadblocks. So for example, things like I can't, this CPU is not supported by a language I'd prefer to use that's memory safe. How can we do that? This language is too slow for my purposes, so I'm going to use it. Well, we can do, there's various things we can do to reduce roadblocks.
Of course. All right. So I saw Randall proposed purpose of the memory safe SIG is to develop and promote standards and guidelines for memory safe programming practices. I personally like that, but I want to get additional group feedback on it.
I also, sorry, David.
No, go ahead, sorry.
I also like the use of safe practices and better than stating memory safe languages, because it suggests that even with using safe by nature languages, you can still have the right practice to make it safe. And that's an education best practice.
That's exactly what I was going for.
I read you, Randall.
I know.
Yeah.
David, then Daniel.
Okay. The problem with this is that I actually don't think that standards and guidelines is adequate for purpose. There's a lot of cases where we'd like to be able to use memory safety, but we can't for some reason, or it's exceedingly expensive. And so we're going to need to do things like write code. So standards and guidelines, good, but I would include that as a subset of the things that need to happen. The Linux kernel folks, by the way, they're having to write a lot of code in order to enable a transition, just to enable support memory of, device drivers in Linux, and they have no intention of using a memory safe language for the core for a variety of understandable reasons. And even that is challenging, but their challenges aren't standards and guidelines. Their challenges, they need to write additional code to make it happen.
Okay. Let's go over. That's a good point. Daniel, let's go to you next. And then Josh, you look like you have something to say. So we'll go to you after.
I was going to basically echo the same point, and that's that, where do tools fit into this? Where does, example projects that we would help drive fit into this? And I think when we think about example projects, one of the things which may not shape the mission, but may shape how we set our goals, is how much we want to be broad in terms of making memory safe programming practices available in more places and for more important code bases, and how much we want to be deep in terms of showing an example or having the thing connect end to end to be able to actually push something forward. Because I think we've got a very clear definition of the problem, and maybe it's not always well communicated. And we have, a solution to that problem, at least for new code, but how we connect that in the existing open source landscape that we have and make a real difference to, mitigating or resolving that problem, I think is the big challenge. And so being able to kind of take that high level picture and make it, make progress, I think is what we want to do, but how we express that, I think, is an interesting question.
I'm overall hearing broad agreement, I think. Let's go over to Josh.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think I'm saying much that's new. I think I'm mostly echoing David. And again, concerned about this is that it's like sounds purely educational as it is. And I'm curious about what kind of scope there is for a SIG to pursue actually writing tools or actually just straight up fixing software. I don't know what a norm is for SIGs in
Dave?
general. Like, does it have?
Go ahead,
I can
David.
jump in here, yeah, because okay, it's a nomenclature thing. In the OpenSSF, we have SIGs and projects. Projects primarily write code. SIGs primarily do something other than writing code. There's nothing that says that we can't be a SIG and a project or whatever, but that's just the typical nomenclature. But the real point is there is no restriction in the OpenSSF from writing code. And if code writing is what's necessary to solve the problem, by golly, let's do that. If something other than writing code is the way to solve the problem, then great, let's do that. But I certainly don't want to be captive to a nomenclature.
Right. All right. So overall, hearing broad agreements. We're also bringing in lots of ideas and such. That is great. I still want to get to that crisp definition of what this SIG does so that we can present it to developers' best practices. So I think, we could expand, develop and promote standards and guidelines for memory safe programming practices. We could expand that to develop and promote standards, guidelines, and tools for memory safe programming practices. David's shaking the head.
Nope, still not enough. You're not rewriting, you haven't covered all those bullets underneath. Roadblocks and selective rewrites.
So
I think we can get there. Just
Right.
we need to make sure we include those also.
I would love a proposal from someone of how we can include that in a crisp, all those bullets in a crisp mission statement.
Yeah,
Frankly, the purpose of the memory safety SIG group is to eliminate memory safety problem vulnerabilities in OSS. I prefer positive statements, by the way.
right.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I
David.
guess we could look at it as a road building exercise. So do what we need to do to actually connect that, like to solve that problem, and then a lot of these other. I mean, it is very broad, and so I think then it really forces us to go to that next level of detail to make sure that we have the clearer goals and sort of sitting under that.
Right. Let's go ahead and go to Art next.
Yeah, Jai, I've just been editing a bit as we go here, and I don't know. The way my head works is mission statement is super succinct. Of course, it has to be a little broad.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like the short. I've been writing some things down, and I think someone else just wrote the same thing. But academically, I like reduce, but eliminate is much more aspirational. No problem there. I think high level, this is very succinct, right? We're going to reduce or eliminate memory safety vulnerabilities. Of course, you need more on how to do that. And then there's some bullets. I know we were doing kind of parallel editing, but some captured bullets here. What I've got highlighted on the screen are a couple of ways I rewrote it as everyone was talking. Honestly, that's my contribution. I'm not going to fight hard for a particular mission statement, but
Right.
that's it. Thanks.
And briefly, and then we'll go Jay. My worry is that we'll come to the developer best practices working group with this eliminate memory safety vulnerabilities in OSS, and their response will be this is way too broad. And we can put specifics under it, but let's go to Jay next.
Yeah, it might help if we actually wrote the words mission, vision, and purpose down, and then wrote these things next to them, because a lot of what I hear is a combination of the two. One sounding like a mission when it's really a vision. Being clear about what is the crux of what the SIG is going to do, based on what the mission of the SIG is, what does that outlook vision look like? So what's the vision? What does success mean, right? And then you drill down into purpose and all that kind of stuff like that. So I think high level, understand what that mission is, and then what does success look like against that mission.
Okay, so I'm hearing mission, vision, and purpose. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, we can write those down. Just write those words down, and then next to them. That way, when we're providing suggestions, we can provide suggestions against each one of those, and that way we're not, the suggestions are a little bit more concise against those specific words.
All right. So I think, eliminate memory safety vulnerabilities in OSS. That sounds like a vision to me.
Definitely.
All right. So I'm going to copy and paste that in. I've started a little section down in the bottom. Someone just started to say something.
Oh, and I was going to say vision. The great thing about a vision, and this is to what Art said before. He's right to say academically, you want to say reduce, right? I mean, because but vision wise, right? The great thing about a vision is you can get aspirational as hell. You can get wild with a vision, right? The vision is to eliminate them completely, right? That's aspirationally what we want to do. Now, that goes right up into against the broader mission. The mission of this is to do this, but the vision, the outcome of it is to have this. So now that we wrote a vision, that mission should become a little clearer.
Got it. And I see David adding in, we could vision eliminate, mission is reduce memory safety vulnerabilities by, and we can add in where I just lost where my train of thought, but add in by developing and promoting standards and guidelines and something along the lines of develop and promote tools and projects. If someone can translate that into something that makes sense, please do so.
So I even what David wrote there, I even think some of that goes into the purpose. So I think once you start getting into the nitty-gritty of tools and guides, I think that drills down into the purpose.
Okay.
Right. The purpose of this organization is to develop tools and guides and all of that towards eliminating vulnerabilities, which references are reducing this and this and this by, etc. I think the tools, the guides, and all that stuff, that goes into the purpose of the organization, is to create these things that achieves the vision by
Okay, I can see
etc.
that. I can see that being in purpose. And I see David is adding that into the notes. Thank you, David. My question
trying,
then.
I may not be successful. I'm trying to capture the ideas.
Thank you
in
for
short
trying
words.
to, at least. Yep. I vision, eliminate, mission, reduce, purpose, develop, guidance, and such. That sounds a bit like goals to me, but I'm willing to go with it. Further thoughts from people within the group.
Yeah, I think if the if our purpose is to kind of provide some proof points and to provide tooling and to provide guidance, like I don't know, again, it kind of crosses a bit into goals, but I think rather than the activities we might do, like rewriting software, building guidance, or whatever else, what our purpose is to basically take this lofty goal of fix giant problem into, here is the path that you go down to meaningfully improve this. And to build that path, we need to improve the tools. We need to provide guidance.
I like
we need
that.
to have proof points of example projects that then have demonstrably better memory safety characteristics, right? So we're kind of taking this direction that we all know we want to go and making a road that goes in that direction. And so that's why we're building a group to do this, because we all know this sounds like it could be a really valuable idea, but how do we get there? And that's what we're trying to define.
All right. So I see your vision, purpose. All right. So vision, I think we've got down. Mission, purpose. All right, we still got there's rapid edits going on, which is good. All right. Mission, reduce, advocating such changes, purpose, develop guidance, tools, software, safety, vulnerability. I mean, we could say our mission is turning recommendations for reducing memory safety vulnerabilities into tangible actions. Let me try that real quick.
Yep. By the way, tools and software rewrites, I think we can just say by developing software. Sometimes
Yeah, I
that's
think so
rewrites.
too. Because I'm worried that I'm gonna get, and it's fine if I do, but I'm gonna get a million pings from C++ developers saying you're advocating rewriting all software in Rust. No, I'm not. But that's beside the point. Okay, cool.
How about some?
That works. All right. How about if we did understand and reduce memory safety vulnerabilities? That gets into understanding going back to what Art said earlier, the scope of the problem that we're facing. Any objections to that?
Yeah, somewhere I think the word pragmatism or pragmatic may help deal with this. Something like in a pragmatic or risk focused way. Basically dealing with no, we're not going to be able to rewrite the universe all at once.
Right.
Okay,
I see what Art has
I see developing along with that. I think the pragmatic really applies to all of this. I don't think you need both practical and pragmatic. I would just say pragmatic.
Okay. By developing pragmatic guidance and software, along with advocating, include some rewrites along with advocating such changes. I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
On the mission. Yeah. Okay. And then I guess the question is, if we have that as the draft of the mission for right now, at least, we can obviously continue to iterate. How is the purpose different? Jay, I'd love your advice on this, because I know you're in all the meetings.
Yep. Let me. I just got back with some food. Give me 1 second.
By all means, eat. Yeah, blood sugar is important.
All right. So we're looking at how is the purpose different than the mission?
Correct. In terms of what we have drafted right now.
Mm-hmm. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
So with a sorry, please. Yep.
Yeah,
I was going to say so the mission includes some of the purpose. So if you ask me what the difference is, I'm going to say that there's very little. Understand and reduce memory safety vulnerabilities. Mission is understand and reduce memory safety vulnerabilities. The developing programmatic guidance and software, including tools, that's the purpose.
Okay.
So the great thing about a vision and a mission is that those don't have to be drawn out.
Right.
No, you can have a 1-sentence vision and a 1-sentence mission. The mission is, this is what we want to do. The vision is, this is what we want to do aspirationally. Aspirationally, we want to accomplish this based on what we want to do. So what we want to do is this. The vision is what it looks like once we accomplish what we want to do. The purpose is to develop these things to accomplish the mission, to achieve the vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it sounds
It
like
does.
what you're saying is that we under mission, okay, the mission is that short one, and then the next one is the purpose, really, and increasingly they're getting this. Oh.
Sorry, yeah, we're
no.
editing over each other.
Yeah, I
let me
see
move
that.
mine out.
Yeah, why don't you? Okay, I think we're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just do this real quick.
Yeah, you just do that, and I will step back, hands off the keyboard.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we have the pragmatic focus.
I think so
and we
too.
don't just assume that we're going to jump in to rewrite everything in Rust,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that we obviously know that that's not not reasonable. One thing I do want to avoid us doing, though, is sort of relitigating the analysis of the problem. Like, to me, it's
True.
more, we have a proposed solution in terms of memory safe programming languages. We want to define that broadly to not just be my favorite language.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to include improving the memory safety or having memory safe dialects or subsets or static analysis that proves memory safety in other languages. But we want to pragmatically work out how we can use that technology and then get, meaningful positive results there. So I'm like,
Right.
so I think the pragmatic side of it and the analysis side of it are important, but I don't want it to look like we're is it a good idea to use memory safe languages? Because I feel like that's been litigated quite a lot.
Right.
And I don't want us to reassess whether we should do that. I think we should be working out how to do that, but do it in a mindful way and making sure that we're measuring the results and not just advocating something that's unreasonable. But anyway,
I think that's logical.
Yeah.
Walter and Victor, I'd like to see if you two have any input on this.
Yeah, for me, it will be more for education purpose. For example, it was memory safety versus confidential computing. I just look it up, so I sort of know the difference. So yeah, know what's the difference for the general public. I think that will help.
That makes sense, and that's something we can definitely include in our guidance.
Yeah, from my side, it's also the same. I think a lot of it's going to be the visibility of like what tools, practices, etc., are available for the transition for memory safety. Being moving to like Rust or another language, that is one of the like sort of guiding directions they can go, but that's just the way everyone is kind of going right now. And I want to make sure that we include like the visibility of alternatives to that, where here it is, if you were interested in how do you handle your legacy safety standards, that should still be a goal. Does that kind of make sense? But I want to make sure we include those other transitional factors. Of course, you could rewrite your code base XYZ. It doesn't have to be Rust, just so we don't put it all on that. And I want to make sure that we include like all of those transitional recommendations. So it's more here is all of the ways you could move towards memory safety at a higher level, and you choose which one kind of is your direction you'd like. Hopefully it makes sense.
Yeah, one thing I also add is I'm a database consultant, so I'm not a developer. So the information here is quite useful for a lot of security reasons. So is there anything that information available that's not only for developers but also for users? So for example, database consultant proper.
It's something we could consider. I don't know if that's something we need to capture in the vision, mission, and purpose, but it's something we can consider in the artifacts that we produce, certainly.
As a side question as well, sorry to interrupt. Some of this may also be sort of I'm wondering for the purpose, how much is it? Because like within this group, we understand like, it kind of harkens back to the very beginning of this discussion where we were talking about, we all know the case of like 70% of C++ bugs are memory safety issues, but it should also be, should some of this group be, bringing to like, here is why memory safety is an issue, and at least still having that within the purpose of the group. To help define that more granularly, besides just the consumer reports numbers or citing numbers like that. Having this group also kind of provide that where you are using technology in language X, it has memory safety issues, and you should move to Y because of that. And just whether that would fall within the purview of this group or not.
Because I do think there's a lot of existing research, not just consumer reports, but Microsoft, Google, others around why memory safety is an issue. I mean, that's certainly stuff we could draw on. I don't know if we would necessarily need to produce something on that, but I'm certainly open to feedback on that and pushback.
Yeah, I wouldn't say producing something like that, but maybe, at least be conglomerating that information to provide it along with the guidance practices.
Gotcha.
I tried to add, based on this discussion, I've been trying to tweak things. I may not have captured everybody's ideas, but I've added this to the purpose, all informed by real world data and risks, which hopefully, which basically harkens back to the word understand in the mission statement that we stated earlier, as well as this discussion about the 70%. I will will quickly note, my memory may be a little fuzzy here, but I recall the 70% for Microsoft was about all Microsoft products, which are not just C and C++.
That's CVE. That number is based on bugs that CVEs were assigned to by Microsoft.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not limited to just C and C++. The number is actually higher if you only include their C and C++ code.
We don't know that. I don't know what the specific numbers are on that.
Okay, I don't know that either. That's why I'm saying I don't remember, but I vaguely remember it was across all CVEs across all of Microsoft. And I know they develop more than C and C and then code in C and C++. I mean, C#, for example, and .NET in general. So it may, we've been saying 70%, but we might want to go back as part of this informed by real world data. Might want to find out more about the actual numbers for different situations.
Go ahead, Art.
I've been a little bit, perhaps personal bias cranky about that 70% number ever since it came out. I don't argue with it, but again, I'm trying to very objectively look at, hey, 60-70% of security bugs in memory unsafe languages are caused by, no surprise, right? Memory unsafety. I did an analysis of the NVD, which is already not great data. The NVD does try since about 2008, and I spoke to them. They tried pretty hard to use CWE as a cause of the vulnerability. CWE has issues, so I'm not going to defend that the data is of great quality here. I did a almost back of the napkin look at here are CWEs that are obviously memory safety issues. Here are CWEs that are probably, but not always, memory safety issues. And here are CWEs that are definitely not. And I came up with about 25% for the last 5 years of all things in the NVD. Now, again, I want to be very clear here. There are a lot of biases and issues with this. And you can't go deeper with that analysis because it's fraught with bias and data problems. Nonetheless, if you look at, if you make the denominator bigger, the number goes down. Is all I'm saying.
Right. Well, yeah. I think that's because you are unlikely to write, for example, web application code. Say a web server in C. You're not going to be able. Well, I guess with WebAssembly you could, but you're often not going to write client-side code in C. So, for example, the OWASP top 10 doesn't list memory safety as an issue. Never happens. It's the top one, last I checked, on the CVE top 25. Again, which language are in? Microsoft writes a whole lot of C and C++. That's the number goes up.
All right. I'm gonna put a time box on this because I want to make sure we complete our goal here for this meeting, which is to develop that mission, vision, and purpose. I think maybe we can wordsmith the purpose just a little bit. I don't think we necessarily need to do that synchronously, but are there any objections to the mission, vision, and purpose as they are right now?
I'm going to bold it.
That works for me. Cool.
Yeah, because I think we can always propose tweaks and so on, but I think the goal is enough to get a group consensus.
Right. Are there are there any concerns with the language for vision, mission, and purpose as they are right now? Okay.
I have
Go ahead,
one
David.
small tweak on purpose, and that's after the word guidance, I would add the word standards. Pragmatic guidance, standards and software.
I have no objection to that.
We may not ever make a standard, but I'd like to admit that sometimes we can just say, do X, at least in certain cases.
And also, so we're not scrambling thinking about it later. You might want to just put scope/purpose or purpose/scope, because those will pretty much look the same.
No problem on that from my end.
Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. I think we've got that. That we can go to the developer best practices working group with Avishay. I think you said their next meeting is it next week or the week after?
The 6th, let me check. The 14th.
The 14th? Okay. So
Yeah,
we've go ahead, David.
I was gonna say, there's no reason that you have to wait till then to at least give them a heads up.
Oh, we have. Avishay has. Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
talked
I
to
mean,
Hope.
yeah, you could even ahead of time say, "Hey, we're proposing this," and copy them on what we've just discussed today, and then you know, basically give them a pre-read. And if they don't read the pre-read, you at least gave them the opportunity.
Of course, of course.
So I would just post on the mailing list. We want to be on. Here's our mission, and so on. And
Yep. Avishay, do you mind taking that forward since I know you've been in contact with the
Sure.
leaders of that?
Sure,
Awesome.
I'll take it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool. And we can continue to talk asynchronously prior to that meeting on the 14th. I think our next meeting as a SIG, it's 2 weeks from today. And that would be, because I cannot do the math.
I think that, by the way, collides with the check. Maybe it collides with the town hall.
With the town hall?
oh yes, it does.
Our next meeting. Okay. Well, we might
Can we move it
cancel
a
that
little?
then. And if it sounds like that's a big conflict, we might cancel that. I don't want to try and reschedule the meeting because it's been so difficult to get this time in general. But let's talk asynchronously, and we can continue to address that. And if we need to cancel, we can continue to talk in the Slack channel and in other places as well.
The next one is March 30. Keep talking on.
And I really appreciate you doing these notes, David. It is impossible for me to talk and take notes at the same time. So I so appreciate this. Thank you. Yeah. You good. Yeah, that's hard too. All right. Anything else for this group that we should discuss?
I guess two minor things, and these are, I guess, more procedural things, but I want to make sure that things actually happen. So I quickly commented earlier about, the OpenSSF has, some little terminology they define on their website about SIGs and projects. Projects have code. SIGs are something other than necessarily code. But please don't shy away if a SIG can, say fire off a project. So, hey, we need to do this. We can create a project. I think formally it would be underneath the best practices working group, presuming they take this on, which I suspect they will. But please don't shy away from developing software or standards or guidance if that's a solution. Second up, money. I think a number of you are very familiar with the OpenSSF, but I'm not sure everybody is. We always, a whole lot can be done without funding with people who are interested, exciting, and we don't want to stop any of that. If funding is needed, formally the governing board of the OpenSSF decides where its funding gets spent. Now, if somebody finds some funding elsewhere, your company is paying you to do X, carry on. Don't let us stop you. In the end, though, the governing board immediately looks over to the TAC for a technical review. So in practice, what happens is you talk among the working group. Does that make sense? Then it gets raised up to the TAC. Does that make sense? There are a couple pockets for small amounts of funding that's pre-approved. Otherwise, it goes to the governing board. I can't guarantee funding, but that's how it works. Okay? And we have limited funding, so if somebody has internal funding to do something, again, don't wait, go.
Right. And I know when I broached this idea with Brian Birdolph a while ago, he mentioned one of the things this group could produce as recommendations for specific projects and initiatives for funding, either from the OpenSSF or from OpenSSF members.
Right. I mean, if you ask the governing board for money, they're going to want to ask how much, when, how are you going to
course.
spend it, what's the result?
As they should. That's their
as
job.
they should.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's not they're not crazy requests. We are rather actively trying to get more funding and stuff. So work on that angle too. But for now, that's where we are.
Understood. All right. Anything else for this group as we're approaching the end of our time? All right. I just have a very big thank you so much for everyone for participating in this. I think we made some progress in becoming a real SIG or what we need to become a real SIG in the OpenSSF. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you all on this.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to chatting with all of you very, very soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Take care.